Good afternoon, students, staff, Police Chief Espinoza, and armed service representatives. We are gathered here today to remember the lives lost on the tragic day of September 11, 2001. On September 11, 2001, our nation suffered from 4 coordinated terrorist attacks, resulting in the loss of almost 3,000 lives and more than 25,000 people were injured. During these attacks, the Twin Towers and the Pentagon were struck. A 4th plane was en route to a federal facility, but was overtaken by brave passengers and crashed into a field in Pennsylvania. Attacks of this scale were something our country has never seen. The following days were filled with grief, mourning, and sorrow. Although this tragedy put horror in our lives, our nation came together to connect and unify. The 9/11 victims may be gone, but they will never be forgotten. I would like to take a moment of silence to remember not only them, but also for the great loss of Queen Elizabeth II. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Mr. Reese, who will be sharing a poem.
About that day. The students ask about that day, a day like no other, a nightmare come true. The teacher's eyes tear up, remembering the images of the falling towers, the confusion, anger, pain. 2,997 lives lost. What to say? Where to begin? One must start with the heroes that day. The first responders risking their lives to save the injured and trapped. Themselves also being injured and trapped and killed. And the passengers of United Airlines Flight 93, whose final courageous act was realized at a field in Pennsylvania. That's the best place to start when students ask about that day, with the heroes. Thank you.
And now I'd like to introduce Montebello Police Chief Espinoza.
Good afternoon, Oilers. Thank you for having me. And thank you especially for having me to memorialize this upcoming special day, but tragic day. And we memorialize it because of how it affected us, how it affected the country, and it continues to affect us. So when things like this happen, we must never forget, right? We must always keep them and the people in our memories. It's interesting because there are certain, and you'll see as you grow up, right? You've probably seen it, like 2020 was a year where a lot of us remember for a variety of reasons. But September 11, 2001, I definitely remember exactly where I was at, what I was doing as a 7-year police officer at my previous agency over at LAPD, right? Those days always affect you, right? And I have a few others just here in my memory of tragic days, but days that we must never forget. On that particular day, we lost over 2,700 people. 2,700 people that day, if you think about it, right? And then of that, 300 firefighters, over 300 firefighters, and 60 police officers. First responders were lost on that day. So we must never forget that because, again, how it affected us. Our first responders, myself, military officers, you know, those who died that day, they ran into those burning buildings to save people, to save kids like you, right? That's what we expect, and that's what we do. But we must never forget that they paid the ultimate sacrifice. And also what we must never forget of the families that were affected, families and friends of those 2,700 people. To keep that in context, you have 2,100 kids at this school. So just think of that in your mind. And over 2,700 died that day. And those families are still affected, right? Everyone that was lost, the friends of those people were still affected. So we must keep that in our hearts, always memorialize, remember them for the first responders for their service. I thank our military, our Army personnel for being here, and thank them for this service because, as I said, that affected the country greatly, and it triggered some national events in our military to go into action, right? To protect our freedoms, right? To protect the country, to protect everything that you learn, your lifestyle, the way you live, your ability to go have lunch right now. And that's what we did as a country. And these times, this current age, right, where it's so divisive, you hear things, whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, everything is very divisive, culturally and politically. But there are certain things that unite us as a country. And when we unite, America can't be stopped. The city, the state, and Montebello High School can't be stopped if you're united for the right reasons and the right cause. And what brings us together as Americans and as people seeking that American dream and the American opportunity. But again, keep those families in mind as Sunday comes up real quick, of how they were affected and how that's affected the country, and how you can go out and protect that and give a part of your life to service, right? I do that every day as a police officer. Firefighters do that, the military does that, but there are ways you can do it too on your volunteer efforts, on how you treat people, and how you do things every day. So again, thank you for having me here, and God bless Montebello High School, and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Espinoza. I'd like to introduce Sergeant Mockabee.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sergeant Elijah Mockabee, and I'm here as a representative of the United States Army. Today is 9/11, and we remember the past and all that was lost. And just like Chief Espinoza said, we should also remember the unity that happened throughout our country. Each of you matter. Every single one of you students matter. And we believe in the United States Army. We are an opportunity for you guys to serve yourself, to serve your family, to serve your community, to serve your school, and to serve the United States Army and the world abroad. So we would encourage you guys to reach out, find ways, like the chief said, to make yourself better, ladies and gentlemen. Each of you matter. Make yourselves better, make your school better. I encourage you guys to come meet us. We'd love to talk to each and every one of you. Thank you for your time.
I'd like to thank everyone in attendance, and have a good weekend, Oilers.